Hi guys, Mika here, your favorite Valorant cheater and your favorite monkey killer, and in this video I'll be telling you guys how you can always have impact in your Valorant games and how you can win rounds by yourself and get more wins in the long run in that way. So let's get this started with. So first things first, you need to understand when to take fights and when not to take fights, because always there are situations where taking fights is a better option, and there are situations where not taking a fight, falling back, playing around your team is a much better option. And if you want to learn more about when to take fights and when not to take fights, you can check out my other videos where I talk about when you should be taking fights and when you should be falling back and playing around your team. Secondly, you should always position yourself according to your teammates' positions. Look at the map, see where your teammates are, and try to see if they can trade you or if they can do plays off of you. For example, you're peeking out A main and your jet is short and he's so far away. If you try to take a fight A main, there's no way that he can trade you. So instead of taking a fight directly, you can wait for the jet to join you, and then you guys can swing an angle together, take a 2v1, and make sure the fight is in your favor. So that's how you position yourself for better outcomes. Another example of positioning is when you guys are holding crosses. So make sure when you're holding crosses, the cross angles are always tradable and you're playing in angles where you guys both can run back to safety, where you guys can chill after you take a single fight. And yeah. And for my third point, you need to realize that kills aren't everything in game. Yes, there are people who might judge you for how many kills you have every game, and you might think the more kills I have, the better of a player I am. But you need to realize that if you try to go for kills that are unnecessary and kills that might end up making you lose rounds, in the long run you end up losing rounds, and you might even end up losing matches because of that. So in the long run, there's no point if you don't end up winning the match, right? So instead of being greedy for kills, try to always play to secure the rounds and play according to that. Even if it's a 5v3, if it's a 5v4, try to always make sure your enemies don't get kills on you, because it benefits them in other ways as well. For example, if they get a kill on you, they get another orb, and your econ goes down, you lose another gun, your econ goes down, a lot of problems happen, and you might even end up throwing the round. So never be greedy for kills and always play to secure the rounds. For my fourth point, I want to emphasize calming. And calming is such an important factor in Valorant, and people don't really give it much credit. And every time I go into a ranked game, most of the time the people in my team are not calming, they're not talking much, they're not calling their util out, they're not calling enemy util out, and it's very frustrating because you're almost always at a lost state, if you don't have proper information about what's going on in the game, what your teammates are thinking, what the enemies are doing, you're not gonna end up securing more rounds than them, bro, because they're always gonna be at an advantage if they're talking about their shit. So always remember to calm everything out, especially utils and the things that your opponents are doing, things that you guys might be planning on doing. So yeah, for example, and the enemy breach just stunned A main at Haven, and his stun's gone for about 30 to 40 seconds. So their stun's gone for 30 to 40 seconds, and if you guys decided to rush A main, you guys have a better chance at going into side because there's no breach stun to stall you guys. And imagine the breach flashes as well. You call, the breach has one flash left, and then he uses his second flash, and then he has no more flashes left. So you guys can play off of that information and try to play the rest of the round out based on the fact that the breach's stun is late and that he has no more flashes. So you guys can take better fights, use angles better, and you could use that util to your advantage. So the same goes for all kinds of util. Any kind of util, whether it be a Sova dart, whether it be a molly from Viper, whether it be a jet dash, anything. Be sure to call everything out. Be sure to call out what you're thinking. If you're planning on something, share it to your teammates. If you're planning on retaking a site, let your teammates know. If you're planning on fast rushing a site, let your teammates know where you want their util to go, where your util is going. And yeah, talk about everything and just stay calm. That's how you're gonna end up winning more rounds. For my fifth point, I want to talk about trading. And trading is such an essential factor in Valorant because if your enemy players get a kill on one of your teammates and he gets away with it, it's a 5v4 for them. And you guys are at a big disadvantage because a man handicapped, especially if you're on defense, it's very bad. because they might rush a side where there's 2 players and the other side has 2 players. What if the 5-man rush a side? They regroup and they push a side that has 2 players. You guys are at a major disadvantage. So you should always try to take trades no matter what the situation. But you need to also remember the fact that taking trades, it's not always the right call, but it's usually the right call. So if you guys want to know when to take trades perfectly and when to fall back, instead of going for a trade, look at my other videos. I've posted another video on how to take trades perfectly, and yeah, you guys can get in-depth knowledge from that video. For my 6th point, I want to talk about using your utils properly. A lot of rounds I see people using their util half-assedly, you know, like they use their flash and it has no value because there's no player to capitalize off of that flash, or they use a dart that clears nothing and there's no player to, like, you know, capitalize off of that info. So you need to make sure you're using your utils properly, and you need to make sure there's someone to capitalize off of that util, even if it's just you. For example, you're a breach on Haven and you're pushing seaside with your teammates. Your jet goes up front, you flash backside for him and he dies. You still have another flash, you still have a stun and an aftershock. What do you do here? Most people, what they would do is they see their jet die, they go back and they fall back, try to, like, you know, play the situation accordingly, go to try to hit another site. But the space that your jet has created, you need to make use of that space with your current util. So given the situation, you can try to aftershock plat, you can try to flash backside again, or you can flash close garage and peek out with your other teammates. You still have a stun to stall players coming out from CT. So you see, there's like a lot of things you can do here. You can still make use of your util instead of, like, you know, trying to fall back. Worst case scenario, you try to fall back, you get spammed from C long and you die. So there's a lot of things that can happen. So don't try to save up your money on util because it doesn't really cost much. Try to use your util as much as you can. Try to use your util to their limits, and make sure you use your util properly, and make sure your util has value. Remember that. Value util is crucial to winning out rounds. For my final point, I want to talk about regaining control in matches after you've gotten tilted or after you've lost control over the game. For example, you guys end up losing 4 to 5 rounds in a row and it's a 0-4 or a 0-5. Your teammates are tilted, they're throwing rounds, they're doing whatever the fuck they want, they're throwing util for no reason, they're doing shit that even silvers don't do. So at that point, what can you do to make the round or the situation better for your team? You can try hyping your teammates up, tell them to chill, and always remember that losing 4 or 5 rounds in a row is nothing as long as you win 2 or 3 rounds in a row back. So tell your teammates to relax, play off with your util, try to regroup, try to push sides together, retake sides together, and yeah, that should help you guys regain control in the game. So that was it for this video, and if you guys want more in-depth knowledge on the points that I talked about, I'll be making more in-depth and longer videos on these specific points later on, so be sure to check them out.